Good evening and welcome to your Puncty Bite for March 11th. I join you at a really exciting time. I just got home from the banquet for our USCSA Nationals where the men's team collected their overall national championship title, and it was pretty exciting, and maybe even as exciting as the overall team title is that one of our fellow TAs, Kyle, won the overall individual title. So it was pretty rockin', and I couldn't have been more proud of our athletes. I want to talk a little bit about scheduling to kick things off, and we do find ourselves in the week, just 1 week prior to spring break, so it's going to be nice, I think, for many of you to have a little bit of a break, and I know a lot of you have been really working hard, and I want to say thank you to all of you for making it possible for me to be gone this week at Nationals. It was really meaningful for me to be able to do that, and I couldn't have done it without all of your help. And thank you also to the many of you who did shoot me a text with a note of congratulations or just good luck. That was really appreciated as well, and obviously really took a lot of meaning from that support. So this week we do have Labs 15 and 16 for most everyone. T and Aliyah will go on to Lab 17. We'll be focusing in on biochemical testing and being able to look at the identity of unknowns coming up very soon. Sarah and Schwa will have open lab this Friday, so we'll see you there or somebody taking your place on that day. And we're looking towards just a lot of extremely exciting action in the lab as we head into this section with unknown identification. So let's talk just individually about Lab 15, and I know that I talked a bit about it in last week's Puncty Bite, but I'll go ahead and pull up the TA guideline just one more time that we can take a quick look at, and did want to note just again that this is a very extensive TA guideline, and so just a lot of information in here. So if you do decide to give this lecture, remember that it will take just a little bit of extra prep time for you, and certainly I'm more than happy to give the lecture if anybody's just feeling a little bit concerned about the extent of material in here, but still take time to go through it even if you're not planning to give the lecture, and help your students begin to get to know the bacteria and to be able to profile them, so to speak, so that as they begin to learn how to do their biochemical tests, they can also, keep a running tally of what it means about an unknown organism to have certain qualities. There are many ways that students can go about learning the material for this section, but one of the things that is helpful is that online there is a summary of biochemical tests. Many of you have already found that and use it on a regular basis, but it's good to point your students also to this resource as they're beginning to learn the biochemical test. You can also give them the suggestion to go ahead and make note cards or whatever works for them for helping to memorize all of those different tests. One other thing on this Lab 15 is just that we do throat swabs, so they'll get to swab one another's throats. You're probably thinking, gosh, we should swab Rachel's throat right now, which would actually be quite fun because I am completely hoarse from yelling all week, though I don't think I have a bacterial infection, but I'm sounding a little throaty. So please do have them do their throat swabs before they go on to work with the strep pyogenes and whatnot. I think that is what I'm going to say for right now about Lab 15. In Lab 16, there's actually quite a bit of review in the lecture. So there's actually the kind of question-answer format that is given to Lab 16 is a really nice one for lecturing. So if you want to give a lecture on the biochemical test, this might be a good one for you to choose. So in this lecture, we do bring to their attention one of the most difficult biochemical tests, which is the KIA tube. And with the KIA test, if you could have them predict the results of the test, it will help you to know whether your students are actually understanding that test. And there is a place in the lab manual for them to do that. But you might want to just make sure that they have done that before you let them get away for the day. So good lecture and a fun one to give. Lab 17, more biochemical testing yet again, but this is where we do begin unknown identification. So this is a lab where we will need to be prepared ahead of time, and I want to take a little moment to review with you where you're going to find the clues to hand out to your students along with their unknowns. So you guys will need to print these before you actually come to lab on that day that your lab is doing lab 17. I'm going to bring up those clues. So this is found on your TACD, or this time I guess it was a jump drive. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up so we can take a look. So let's just take a look at where you'll find these on the TA jump drive, and you can look and find on the very bottom folder the unknown keys. That's the one you're going to want to clip on. And then you're going to go ahead and go onto the unknown list that says unknown list fall spring, and just click on that. And then here you're going to get a list of clues. Notice though that these are actually dated by semester. So you've got your fall clues, and if you go ahead and just scroll back, you'll come to spring. So in spring, this gives the number, and this is something you may want to print so that you have it on hand, so that you know for your section like what the unknown number is and how to help the students as they begin their identification. But also what you're going to need to print when you come to lab for lab 17 is this spring clues list. So you'll notice that each section has their numbers, but then for every number there is a clue. So what you'll want to do is to delete what you don't need. So say that you are TAing section 12 general micro, that's Jussie and Bo's section. What they'll do is they'll delete everything to the left of that, just delete that, and then just print your section and the clue, and that's all you'll need to bring with you. You may want to make sure that the formatting looks good, because you will need to be able to cut these into pieces so that you can hand the students their clue. Okay, so that is what you'll need to bring with you for lab 17. Now that's only for T and Elia for this week, but that also gives the rest of you a chance to think about preparing to have those clues printed and ready to go for lab 17. So the last thing that I need to talk about is that unfortunately I missed the short window of opportunity in the moment when everyone had their grades in medical micro out of 65 points. So I'm going to have to ask you a favor to go back again to these grades, and I'm going to bring up a sample, and you're actually going to need to get those out of 105 now so that I can send the grades to Dr. Mani. And the favor that I need to ask of you is that once you've entered the practical score as well as up through pre-lab 13, if you could just leave those scores as they are, and please don't add any more until I send an email out saying I have successfully downloaded the grades and sent them off for submission. So we need to make sure that everybody's score reads out of 105 until I email you again and say, all right, cool, thanks, I've now sent those grades off to Dr. Mani. So very much appreciated on that, and I'm sorry that I didn't get that done in the window when everybody must have had it out of 65, but the last I checked, we weren't quite there, and then once I checked again, some had added more scores. So let's pause at 105, and we'll be able to go from there. And it sounds like my voice is not going to last for much longer on this podcast, but thank you all so very much once again for extra work that you've been doing to help me get to nationals, and you're at least in part to thank for the individual and overarching national championship that we earned this week. So you rock my world.